Who is the drunken fool, always bringing suffering onto himself? None of us, huh? The one who spends his time lusting after comfort, pleasure, wealth, and fame. Should we go on to the next verse? Let's just cross this one off. Okay, the drunken fool always bringing suffering onto himself. The one who spends his time lusting after comfort, pleasure, wealth, and fame. In other words, the 8 worldly concerns. Okay, so let's just take it here, lusting after comfort. So how does lusting after comfort bring suffering to us? Yeah, when we don't get it, it's suffering. And even if we do get it, we worry about losing it. Or we get tired of it, and we want something else, and we're dissatisfied. So comfort, okay? How do we lust after comfort? What are you lusting after? Lusting is a good word here. It doesn't mean sexual lust. It means just, that mind that is fixated on I've got to be comfortable. Okay. So this room is too hot. Open the windows. I don't care if the rest of you are freezing. Open the windows. Yeah. This room is too cold. Close the windows. I don't care if the rest of you are are stuffy. We got to close the windows. Yeah. Yeah. My bed is too soft. My bed is too hard. The food is too hot. The food is not hot enough. Yeah. Comfort. What else? Comfort. Yeah, the car. This car is bumpy. Yeah. Huh? This car smells like mice pee. That's our car. Because the mice nest in the engine, So then when you open the vents inside the car, yeah, so this car smells like mice pee, Other things of being comfortable. Yeah, temperature, hunger. Yeah, very much physical sensations. Yeah, the tea's not hot enough, sweet enough, strong enough. Okay. And I was really intrigued that at a community meeting we had this week when Venerable Chuni was saying that, in Gautami, when she hears people walk around in the morning and stuff like that, she feels really good because it reminds her, she has a lot of friends and we're all doing the same thing together. Venerable Jigme was saying something like that to me yesterday when we were in the car, that, when she's in Ananda and, different people are doing different things and you can hear them, she feels really good. It's like we're, I have lots of friends, we're all working in the same direction, yeah? Okay, so if that were inherently existent comfort, if that comfort were inherently existent and the cause of that comfort were inherently existent, then everybody would find that situation pleasurable. Yeah. But other people don't. Some people go crazy. I hear your footsteps. I can't sleep. Yeah. We need to put a, what do you call it? Like a rope with a, what do you call it? With a wheel on the top. And you grab it at one end of the corridor and you take it into the bathroom. And then I won't hear your footsteps because your footsteps bother me. Huh? A pulley, yes, a pulley. That's yeah, so you just get some kind of pulley. So you get a pulley, and that's how you go down the corridor because your footsteps wake me up. Yeah, or like Tarzan. We'll bring in some of the vines from the forest. They're really strong, by the way. you know? And we'll bring some of those in, and then you can just swing down the corridor, and your footsteps won't. Yeah. Then we'll put foam against the wall, so it doesn't make any sound. Yeah. So, you know, for one person, the noise just drives them crazy, you know. Same thing in Ananda, you know. It's like, why are all these people here in this building working? They're disturbing me. Yeah. We should all have our own individual buildings where we work, and then nothing will disturb me. I remember one time, do you remember some time ago, Venerable Yeshi was just feeling like, oh, I can't stand to be around people, I need some space. And it was a day when we all went out, somebody invited us for lunch. Yeah, so we all went out, you know, somebody invited us for lunch. And she didn't want to come because she said, I just can't stand being around all of you, you're driving me crazy. And so we went out, we had a good time, we came back, and she said, you were all gone, and I was still unhappy. You know? And this is, I mean, all this just shows that all these things, when we think our unhappiness is due to an external situation, our discomfort is due to an external situation, if things inherently existed as we're perceiving them at that time, as we're believing them to be at that time, then everybody should find that same situation uncomfortable. And everybody should find the absence of that situation pleasurable. But some people find that situation, you know, comfortable, some don't. Some find its absence nice, some don't. You know, so it's just showing that things are not truly existent out there, yeah? But when we grasp them to be truly existent, and we say, this is impinging on my comfort, then we are the drunken fool who always brings suffering onto himself. Aren't we? Because it's our mind telling us that this is a bad situation. Unendurable situation. Cannot stand it situation. Yeah? And then, you know, I was thinking, because they just released this one prisoner who was in Afghanistan. He was in prison for 5 years. And he, you know, there were no other American prisoners or, you know, or NATO prisoners there. He was all alone. And I was thinking, you know, you're sitting there, and what are you going to do? Say this situation is absolutely unendurable, unacceptable, when you have no choice about it? Yeah? You're imprisoned by the Taliban, you know? What are you going to do? Go to the Taliban lieutenant and say, I'm sorry, this situation is not acceptable. I want a soft bed, you know, I want an iPod and an iPad, you know, and I want a telephone to call my family. Yeah, what you're doing is just unacceptable. Sorry. Yeah? You do that? You know? Even in an American prison, you know, try doing that in an American prison. They'll throw you in solitary, which is even worse. Yeah? So you can see that the more, you know, we get attached to things and then get bent out of shape, you know, especially comfort, get bent out of shape, then the more unhappy our mind is going to be. Yeah? So it can be, you know, when you're practicing the Dharma, it can be a very helpful practice when things aren't going the way you want. You know, for example, the food is too bland. She didn't put enough salt in it. Or my problem is she put too much salt in it. Okay? And then you just say, this is part of my practice. Yeah? This room is too cold. This is part of my practice. The room is too hot. This is part of my practice. You know, and see if we can train our mind to be okay in those situations. Yeah. What I find quite interesting is when I say to myself, this is too uncomfortable, unbearable, I can't stand it. Then I get just completely tense and irate, you know. But as soon as my attention shifts to something else, then I forget all about it, you know? And I might be sitting in my room and I'm still sweating because it's so hot, or still shivering because it's so cold, but I've forgotten about it because my concentration is on something else. But as soon as I go back to it's too hot or it's too cold, then my mind just goes totally berserky and I can't think about anything else. Yeah? So it always reminds me of how parents, when they have a crying baby, what do? It's very skillful. You take a crying baby, if you're indoors, you take them outdoors, or you take them into a different room. You change what they're perceiving, and it distracts them often from what they were crying about. And you know, the same thing works for us adult babies. Except sometimes we have a harder time shifting our concentration. But it's interesting, you know, how that sometimes works. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like when I know sometimes I might be asleep and then I got woken up by a sound, and I say to myself, I am too tired to care about this sound. And then I go right back to sleep, you know, because I'm so tired. It's like, who has the energy to care about this sound? Yeah? But if I wake up and it's like, why are they making that noise? Yeah? Or why is this light shining in my room? You know? Why is it thundering right now? You know, like when we have the thunderstorms in the middle of the night? You know, I'm just too tired to care about them. You know, I go back to sleep. Otherwise, you know, you lose a whole night's sleep because you're mad at the thunder.
Or you're excited and watching.
Yes, yes. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to stay on this verse more than one session. But it's, you know, it's a really interesting thing to think about, you know, because I don't know if you remember, but some time ago we were reading something, and they were saying that people get bent out of shape about, or people have certain things that they're really fixed on. Some people, their main thing is comfort. Some people, it is it's winning. Some people, it is being right. And some people, it's being loved and appreciated. You know? And so seeing like those four things as things that we get really stuck on, where our attachment goes. So it's interesting, we all have all four, but to see which one is the primary one for us, where we get really stuck, you know. Oh, they don't appreciate me enough, you know. How dare you say I'm wrong? I'm always right. You know? And then I've got to win. No matter what, I've got to come out on top. Yeah, so very interesting to see how we get attached to these things, and then how that becomes the drunken fool bringing suffering unto himself. Yeah. And I mean, drunken fool is a very good example, you know. Because when you drink because you think you're going to be happy. Yeah? What happens when you get drunk? I got drunk one time in my life. That was it. I wanted to see what it was like. That cured me. Finished. No more. Too much suffering, you know. But, you know, even you get drunk multiple times, you know, I mean, what does that do to your life? completely disintegrates your life. Yeah. The drunken fool bringing suffering into himself. Okay? So the fault of the afflictions.